Senator Abdullahi Ali.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Energy concerning frequent electricity power outages in Wajir County that has lasted since 2017 to date. In the statement, the committee should explain when the new power generator in Wajir County will be operationalized, as it has been lying idle since it was procured in 2019. Explain why another generator which broke down and has all the spares ready and available in Wajir, why it has not been repaired. Why? Because they claim that the contractors are in Tanzania and they cannot come. Does that mean that the ministry do not have enough mechanics to do that job, to repair, so that the people of Wajir can get electricity, Mr. Speaker? Number 3, step measures put in place to ensure there is adequate electricity power in the county, as the generators currently in operation in Wajir County can only generate 2 megawatts against a demand of 4 megawatts that's required by the county. Explain why what the government plans to do to operationalize. And ex-Garissa, they took a generator from Garissa last year, which they claim will provide 2 megawatts, and it's still lying idle, Mr. Speaker. So what do they plan to do with that generator? Explain when will people of Wajir benefit from the national grid, which we have been promised for N years, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Farhia, and then Professor Ongeri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wajir County has had electricity problems from the time when I was in primary school, Mr. Speaker, up to date. Mr. Speaker, as we are all aware, growth of businesses and any other business transaction, and even for SMEs to develop, we need some level of electricity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other problem that Wajir, electricity has is that every Ramadan, when people are fasting, the electricity problems becomes much more worse than the normal time, Mr. Speaker. And what that tends to do is, if there is no electricity and people cannot use fans and other things, there is too much dehydration, Mr. Speaker. And as a result of that, there's also too much kidney failures in that county, Mr. Speaker. Because people are, there's too much, sweat, and people can't even sleep at night. And especially during Ramadan. Mr. Speaker, this is so sad, given that this is a county that has, green energy of sunlight, 2/3 of the year, Mr. Speaker. 75% of the time, Mr. Speaker, there is sunshine in that county, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I feel it is high time that Wajir County, instead of depending on generators, we either have, development of green energy from the solar system that is, from a solar system, so that the county can adequately be supplied, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is that, like in my county, there is pastoral life is very, people practice pastoral life. And as a result of that, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of hides and skins, Mr. Speaker. If there was enough electricity in that county, Mr. Speaker, small factories that are producing, quality leather would have been possible with that county, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is, in Wajir County, there is always, there's a lot of terror attacks, Mr. Speaker. And as a result, and that is partly contributed by the fact that the towns are in darkness every other night, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the Committee of Energy, I think, through the Committee of Energy, we must have a solution for Wajir County, Mr. Speaker. After almost close to 6 years of independence, we cannot be crying about electricity year in, year out. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Professor Ongeri.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak with nostalgia. I was the medical officer of health in Wajir in 1967-68. And it's with horror that at that time we had a simple generator and it only supplied power to the DC's house, to the police commandant, and the medical officer. And even when I used to do the operations in the hospital, I used to use the foot pump to be able to pump and be able to do the kind of operations I needed to do. And even if you travel the wide and the length and the width of the Wajir County, it's very expansive. From Wajir itself to Griftu, to Buna, to Gural, near the border with Ethiopia, or you went northward towards Mandera, or southward Abaswen towards Garissa. It's a very vast county. What I don't understand, Mr. Speaker, in 21st century today, and the other day we were there as Education Committee, that the stability of power or energy is all that the people of Wajir need. Otherwise, the water service area is very low. They can be able to dig boreholes and be able to get very clean and serviceable water using power. I don't understand why the Ministry of Energy, or for that matter, Kenya Power and Lighting Company, cannot be able to tap the solar energy, which is in abundance. There's so much sunshine there, there's so much heat there, that they can be able to store up so much solar, much cheaper, very clean energy, that you can use for all the purposes, rather than be subjected to electricity breakdowns and outages now and then, and it can be very frustrating, particularly in an area which, in quotes, has some other security concerns. And I think it's important that we owe it to the people of Wajir, not only Wajir, but also to Mandera and Garissa, and also Turkana and these other areas, that they now need to seriously look at generating not only the solar energy, but also the wind energy, which is so much plenty in some of those regions. So I commend my student, my medical student at that time, Dr. Ali, for bringing this question before us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator